I am Todd Vinson. Welcome to Base Camp Wisdom, a podcast with people who've weathered the storms, traveled the hard miles, and made it to the other side. In this podcast, we're going to explore life lessons, valuable insights, proven tools and experiences that will help guide you on your own leadership journey. So grab your cup of coffee, sit back and listen to some seasoned Sherpas who've not just weathered the storms, but they've made it to the other side. Welcome to Base Camp Wisdom. Hi, Todd Vinson here with the next episode of Base Camp Wisdom. I'm really excited today to have a conversation with our Lieutenant Governor of Oklahoma, Matt Pinnell. Matt, welcome.
Well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Man, we're sliding into fall. A few hot summer days left, but how's your summer been, and what's on your calendar here moving into fall?
For me, we're in legislative session February through May, which really doesn't change my calendar much at all versus in session versus out of session. As Lieutenant Governor, statewide job all year long and kind of the sales and marketing job for the state. So we're selling 12 months out of the year. It doesn't matter, but the summer's been good. The summer's been good for us.
What's been a highlight for you this summer?
Professionally, I would tell you it was one of the, if not the most successful economic development summer we've ever had. So May was the best month in state history, which is saying something when it comes to jobs that were announced, job announcements. Had a couple really big companies announce that they were moving to the state of Oklahoma, over 3,000 jobs total with
Outstanding.
with about 3 or 4 different company announcements in the state. So, big deal for us. And then you had that. And then you had Google. Google announced, you may have heard of them. Google announced that another $9 billion investment in our state to expand out kind of the data center operations that they have in the state of Oklahoma. So,
amazing.
Jobs announcement from just capital investment, about $14 billion in capital investment announcements in the state. So it's been a very, very good summer professionally, showing some really strong momentum for the state.
Imagine that.
That.
As the phrase goes.
That's right. That's right.
Well, what about on a personal note? What's been a high this summer?
I've got 4 kiddos and at all different stages of life, so we're my wife and I are really in the thick of it. We got one in elementary, one in middle school, one in high school, one that just started college. And so summer, again, it's just always busier because we're not in a routine. Routines are a big deal for any family, I think. And for us, we were really out of a routine. Some of it was really sweet, and we loved that the kids were home. Obviously, we love it when we can spend more time as a family. We love being outdoors, and so, we hit state parks a lot. We do a lot of hikes when we can. We hit the beach every once in a while. So just more time together is always awesome, and we've been able to do that this summer.
That's awesome. As they say, the days are long and the years are short. I've got 4 daughters. My youngest now is in her senior year, just turned 18, and I've got them up to pushing 28. That they're having their first baby in December. So, yeah, no days off as a parent or when you're serving the state. It's like you run in overdrive a lot of the time.
We do.
One thing I was curious about, we've connected over coffee, it seems like over years. Tell me a little bit about your story that prepared you to for you to be in the role that you are now as Lieutenant Governor.
Yeah. Well, for me, it started in college. I was an Oral Roberts University grad. That university really, trains you up to be bold, to make no little plans here. It's right in the mission statement.
Right.
And I loved my time there, met a lot, certainly a lot of lifelong friends that now live all across the globe. And so for me, coming right out of college, I feel like I was thrust into some leadership positions right out of college, some pretty good jobs because I was bold, but I hope I did it in a humble way. But for me, right in college, I worked on campaigns, political campaigns. Worked on political campaigns coming out of college. I had a sales and marketing background, though. I was a public relations major, And so, you fast forward to, me, the decision to run for lieutenant governor. I mean, I looked at that job as a sales and marketing job, and it fit my background, what I believed, good at, some leadership skills that I think were infused in me. And I always love to lead and to work on projects that may be hard, that some people walk away from. I always liked that. I could always kind of run into the fire when it comes to those things. So, that my journey did prepare me for this lieutenant governor role, and I hope it prepares me for everything else that will come after. But it is funny to kind of look back and see the doors that got opened, the
Mhm.
doors that he closed. We always laugh at those. Oh yeah, I know what you were doing, Lord, 5 years ago when you opened that door, closed that door, or introduced me to that person.
Right.
The people that you meet along that journey, I think we forget that a lot of times, that it'll be a light bulb that goes off, but it may not hit you right when you meet that person at that coffee shop or wherever it is,
Right.
that lead to, the next adventure in your life.
Well, and I mean, you've just outside looking in, I've watched you really change the face of what that role is as lieutenant governor, and you've done an amazing job in marketing and branding our state from a tourism
Yeah.
standpoint, and also business. So, with that, you being your background, I mean, what would you say as we're sitting here talking? I kind of think about Giant Worldwide, and one of the things that's had a huge impact on me is a tool that Jeremy created called the Peace Index, and we've got 5 external components that influence who we are. And I think for a lot of people, that driver is purpose. Could you share with me a little bit about what you see your purpose is in this season of life?
Yeah, yeah, no, that it's a great question. So, I mean, I feel very blessed to be in a position in government. A lot of times I had Congressman Kevin Hearn from the Tulsa area came up to me and he goes, "Do you know how lucky you are?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "You're in a political position where you're actually able to see change." I could be in Congress for 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, for goodness sakes, and maybe pass one or two bills that have where you visibly are able to see some change. And, in my role as lieutenant governor, kind of the sales and marketing role, I'm able to talk about the positive things that are happening inside the state of Oklahoma, while yes, addressing things that we need to fix down at the state capitol. But you got to have somebody that is the happy warrior, so to speak,
Yeah,
that is promoting the state in a positive way, talking about all the great things that we have in the state of Oklahoma, and not just being Debbie Downer all the time. And I don't want to discount that, because frankly, a lot of that wasn't happening before. And I hope that, yes, I'm able to hand the baton off to the next lieutenant governor, that they'll continue those type of duties. And so, listen, we have got a great state. I think it's the best state to live, work, and raise a family today. I truly believe that. All the stuff that I kind of told you there at the beginning, we have a lot of momentum right now as a state. So I'm in the right state to be talking about, hey, we're the state on the rise, because it's not just me preaching that, it's actually true. I can prove it in the data, and so it's been a real blessing. It has, but I think that the Lord gives you the desires of your heart. I believe that, and hopefully outfits you or pushes you in a place where you can develop those skills. I think that's certainly been true in my life. And so I'm just trying to step into that. All right, Lord, use me. You've given me some of these skills. I've refined them. I continue to work on them, and use me in a way to be successful as lieutenant governor. And over the last 7 years, there's been highs and lows to that, of course. Uh,
sure.
but we feel like we've delivered what we told people we were going to do.
Right. And the thing that just kind of hit me here the last few years that, you dream and you look to the horizon, and man, we've got 180-degree views of horizon, and we've got beautiful sunsets and sunrises here.
Yeah.
But I like the whole metaphor of sunrise. And so how do we see that? How do we look at the potential that we have here in our state? And I can't remember what source I heard the other day, but man, there's people moving into Oklahoma from Texas, from all over the country, moving into our state. And unfortunately, I feel it in the traffic when I drive from Norman to downtown every day. There's more people here than there used to be.
Yeah.
But it's really exciting to see people stand up and take notice about the good things in our state. And we're not a flyover state anymore. It's people are coming in and staying and understand the cost of living is different here. The quality of life is different here. The people are just different here. And I really think that goes back to some of the, the pioneering spirit. We don't just endure hard things, but we help create good things that happen here.
That's right. Yep. No, we created a campaign called liveInOKLA.com. That's the website, live it. And for your viewers, check that out. It's a campaign directly talking about what you just talked about, that Oklahoma, we've got all the things that Dallas has now. You're not stuck in traffic. You can actually afford a house here. You can raise a family here. You can get your kids into a good elementary school here, and don't have to be on a year-long waiting list. It's a great place to raise a family and start a business. But if
Absolutely.
we don't tell people about that, then they're going to look at other states, because Dallas is full, and that Dallas's march to the state line of Oklahoma is happening. It's really fast.
It's it takes me less than 30 minutes to get downtown. We're not talking Atlanta or Dallas traffic.
No, we're
It's
not.
all relative.
Right.
I could be down to the Capitol in 25 minutes. Well, just looking at current events the last week or so, I guess one thing I also appreciate about Oklahoma is the spiritual foundation that we have and the values that we have. And from business to faith and family, how has I guess if you call it the Charlie Kirk effect, what impact has that had on you this last week, as just in you and your own personal life and your role as lieutenant governor?
Yeah, I knew Charlie. I didn't know him well, but my background, ran political campaigns, as I told you, was the state Republican Party chairman in Oklahoma, worked at the RNC some as well. So I remember Charlie hustling around trying to raise money, starting Turning Point USA,
Right.
uh, a decade plus ago. And he's always been so driven. Obviously, has to be with that kind of role. And he was gifted, no doubt about it. He was a gifted communicator. Uh, and it's hit people really hard. I think whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent, or by the way, not registered to vote because you hate politics. I get that too. But here's a guy that actually went to college campuses, and said, "Hey, let's have a discussion." Because if not talking, it leads to very bad things. And so, that I think that is what is so striking about what happened is, he's someone that was speaking against these, and warning, by the way, we can't have a debate in this country, then we will lose this country. And he was shot down championing that message, which is so tough. Certainly talked a lot of faith, no doubt about it. I think you have faith, you have believers in Christ that are devastated, and you have those kind of in the political arena that are devastated as well. And that's why it was such a large movement.
Yeah. Well, he
Though what
truly
I
cares about people. I mean, I've
Yeah,
got my
yeah,
22-year-old's one that told me about it, and then I've got a daughter that just got married, and she and her husband are in London, and it it's affected everybody. And hopefully, man, we grieve and mourn his loss and the impact on his family, but also, what is my purpose in life? How am I loving? How am I treating people? Hopefully a lot of soul searching and reflection for us as communities and states and a nation.
agree. Yeah, there's some language that we shouldn't be using. I mean, when we dehumanize individuals in the political rhetoric, you combine that with social media, it can be very toxic, and you can go down some very dark rabbit holes on social media with type of dehumanizing language, and it can lead to things like this. So hopefully, it is a wake up call. Hopefully, it is a wake up call for everyone. Yes.
I agree, and I guess my sweet spot. One of the things I really enjoy working with is emerging leaders, and I've
Mhm.
even had the opportunity to even have a few that were interns in the governor's office and go through some just spend a year together, and it's been amazing to me to see this generation just see their fire,
Yeah,
and not entrapped in things and just climbing the ladder, but really seeing a generation that wants to live with purpose and make a difference.
I agree. I agree. I have a lot this next generation. Absolutely.
Along those lines, is there anything that you see on the horizon in our state that excites you or gives you hope?
Yeah, again, we're a state that's growing, right? So my hope is that our kids and grandkids that we're raising right now are going to want to stay here. That brain drain that we've talked about for far too long. And by the way, every state talks about that, right? That a kid leaves, they leave the state, they go to college, it's harder to get them back. They usually find a job in that state. And so I think we are creating more opportunities for kids to find a job here, a great job here, high paying job here. Our aerospace industry is one that I talk a lot about when it comes to high paying jobs. We with from the Boeing, the Lockheed Martin, the Pratt
Hmm.
and Whitney of the world, these big global aerospace companies that are in Oklahoma today. And then the startup aerospace companies, drone manufacturing, unmanned drone technology. I could go on and on, space exploration when it comes to that industry. That'll be a $1 trillion industry within the next 10 years. So we can do all of that here. You can do it right here in Oklahoma. And I think that in a large way is the future. From AI to robotics, those type of things that scare people sometimes, but the train has
Hmm.
left the station. I mean that all of
Right.
that technology is coming, and we can do that. We can do that right here in Oklahoma and keep our kids here. So that's what makes me excited. It is that Oklahoma City is the 20th largest city in America today. The Olympic Games are coming to Oklahoma City.
Right.
That the story of Oklahoma City is just remarkable, what has happened to them over the last 20 years. So that gives me hope. It gives me hope that we can make a pitch to the next generation that they're going to want to stay here in the state.
I moved away. I was one of those guys. I grew up in Duncan, Oklahoma, and he worked for Halliburton, and we moved overseas, and that's really where I wanted to stay. And lived all over, traveled all over, and came back and founded and ran a boys ranch for 20 years in Chandler, Oklahoma. And it's like I wanted to live, in Europe or in the mountains, and I was landed and planted halfway between Oklahoma City and Tulsa, and spent 20 years there,
Love it.
and love our state, love our
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Even us being connected over a cup of coffee. Good things, I tell people, good things and good conversations happen over a cup of coffee. And even during the pandemic, so many folks from the Capitol were down in our little cafe and coffee roastery down in Otto Alley, and just coming and just getting a breather and having a break before they had to give the next announcement on data on COVID and all the things that were going on. And so you've traveled the state, from a tourism standpoint. What's one of the hidden gems, whether it be a coffee shop or something that
Yeah.
should not be a secret? Sometimes you don't want to tell people your favorite fishing hole, but there are places that are best kept secrets that folks in our
Yeah.
state need to know about.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's great that some of the hidden gems that I discovered 7 or 8 years ago are not hidden gems anymore. I mean, southeastern Oklahoma, Broken
Hmm.
Bow,
Yeah.
Town. Most
It's
people
well
know
known.
about. Yeah, it's well known now.
Yeah.
Medicine Park, right outside of Lawton,
Yeah.
Oklahoma, the foothills of the Wichita Mountains. Yes, we have a mountain range in Oklahoma. You know, Medicine Park, one of my favorite spot. It's a Colorado mountain town vibe to it.
It is. And was the Buffalo Burger there in the mirrors?
Yes, there you go. Yeah, so we visit Medicine Park for as much as we can. Some great restaurants, obviously great hiking. That's probably still a little too hidden.
Yeah.
And I would tell you, some of these sovereign nation towns, Tahlequah, Oklahoma. I mean, no telling how big Tahlequah could be the next Bentonville, Arkansas. It really
Yeah.
could.
I agree.
Ada, Oklahoma, where the Chickasaw Nation is, and a lot of a lot of the towns around Ada. You've got Tishomingo with Blake Shelton's spot. So you've got some of these small towns. Obviously, Pahuska with the Pioneer Woman.
Yes.
Those are some of my favorite spots. Are these small towns? They're like straight out of a Hallmark movie, but they got a great restaurant or a great coffee shop with a lot of great town pride. I mean
Yeah.
that's Oklahoma. That's a lot of our Route 66 towns as well. It is what I would tell you. Yeah.
Well, and I love the Route 66 campaign you guys are doing, and
Yeah.
I'm a coffee snob and love craft coffee, but there's something about good diner coffee and good
Oh yeah.
hometown
That's
diners that
Yep.
they're hard to beat.
They are. They are.
Well, and we have a little basketball team here that did well this last year in Oklahoma City. How has OKC Thunders winning the national championship as a mid-level team? What kind of attention have you seen that's brought to Oklahoma City?
Yeah, transformational. I mean, I would use the word transformational. I mean, that to have a professional sports team in Oklahoma, that not just a professional sports team, but one that is the new kids on the block, the cool kids on the block. I mean, I could compare it to the Kansas City Chiefs, what they've done in Kansas City the last 10 years. I hope we're about to go on a 10-year run here. If we're not a one-hit wonder, at least in the playoffs for the next 5 to 10 years here, because that will further allow Oklahoma City to tell its story on a national and international level.
Hmm.
You got to have that. You got to have that. Oklahoma City's ready for that. The Olympics here, that's great, but that's a one-off, right? They're here for a
Right.
few weeks. We'll be able to flex on that for a long time, but the Thunder aren't leaving. They're never leaving. We're not. They're here forever, and we want
You
them
and
to
I
be.
aren't surprised at the excellence. Maybe the outside world is, but we're going, yeah, I mean, that's just, you look at
Yeah.
the Hall of Fame of people from Oklahoma, from way back to a Gene Kirkpatrick to all the country music folks that are from
Yes.
here, actors, and we've got a pretty rich heritage. So that shouldn't be surprising. But I just I think about conversations I have with a friend, Gary Brooks, that there's more than just business and sports and entertainment. I mean, there's some spiritual things going on in our city and in our state that I really think is going to have a ripple effect across the rest of our country. And like you said, we need to hold on to that humbly and steward that really well. But I feel like our best days are ahead of us, not behind us.
Agree. I agree. It's why I love that, at one point in Oklahoma City's history, they were trying to rebrand themselves the Big Friendly, the Big Friendly,
I remember that.
which, I get what they were getting at there, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, we want to
Yeah.
be inviting. We want to be for everyone, right? This melting pot. And, there's a bar in Oklahoma City now called the
Called
Big
the
Friendly.
Big Friendly. And they would love that. They would love to be
Yeah.
branded this
Yeah.
for the city.
So I think it is something we need to continue to lean into, whether that, it's the modern frontier. I think that's a great brand for Oklahoma
Yeah.
City too. We want to be able to honestly say we're the friendliest state in the country, because that's where entrepreneurs will then flock to the state if we are friendly and open and inviting.
But that's just the gateway to so many things that are so much richer and deeper that set you up for success. Um, One of the things I do on base camp here is I like talking to guys that have had some struggles. You never want to sign up on a mountain trip with a guide that is pulling out new gear that's never been used and never been up that trail before. Is there something in your life that was a really challenging experience that really marked you and has impacted the way that you live and lead your life today?
Yeah, I chuckle. When I speak to high school kids or college graduations, I talk a lot about this. That, when I got elected to office, it was there was a honeymoon phase for sure. How cool this was. Listen, I was the lieutenant governor, and then the criticism came. Right, the pushback came on. When I started making decisions, I hadn't really had to be faced with a lot of that up until being lieutenant governor on a large scale like that, and really checking myself on wanting to always be liked, and chasing the clicks, the dopamine hit, as they on social media. It's something that I've really struggled with, but and have learned a whole lot over the last 8 years about this as well. Surrounding myself with a good group of men
Hmm.
that pray with me, challenge me, keep me accountable. But you don't have to be loved by everybody. No, a couple people is enough. Find your tribe. Go find your tribe. Right.
Right.
Um, and that there's a great quote in the Greatest Showman, which is one of our family's favorite movies.
My family make fun of me. They said, "Man, you got a man crush on him." I'm going, yeah, maybe I do. But it's one of
And
my favorite shows as well.
probably do well, but the wife in that movie is talking to him, and that's her quote to him: "Hey, you don't have to be loved by everybody." And that is something that I've
Yeah.
had to constantly remind myself of. And again, high school kids and college kids that, today I was the last generation that I think graduated from college without having, social media in a great, I mean, even just barely a cell phone, I think, at that time.
Yeah.
that certainly has all changed. So that's been, that was a windy road for me for sure, and some dark days. Don't read the comments. Don't read the comments. Yeah, that's true. Um, while at the same time having to be a politician, you want to get reelected, so you want people to be supportive of what you're. That's something that Kevin Stitt and I, thankfully, very blessed that we have a governor that's a believer, that I was able to, to lean on a little bit too. There really helped me and supported me, patted me on the back on some things. So, for me, that's been something where it's the maturity over the last 8 years in that level is something that I talk a lot about.
Yeah, what people say about you is not who you are.
That's right.
And when you are healthy and focused on your purpose and your identity, then you've got nothing to fear, nothing to hide, nothing to lose, and really nothing to prove to anyone. You've just got to be responsible with your natural abilities, and what your role is, and who you serve. And that's easier said than done. I mean,
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
you still got to climb the mountain.
Yep. That's
Well,
right.
what would you share out of that? What would you share with someone that may just be starting out early in their career? Maybe they're just getting out of college, as it relates to approval and striving and being your best. Any lessons there you would share?
Yeah, I'd find a mentor. If I was in high school or starting my career, so you're in college, you're right out of college. I would certainly find your tribe. Just a couple guys you can have coffee with, right?
Right.
That find a church, community. Sometimes that's harder, right? Because we got a church on every corner, and I see that a lot with college age kids or those that have graduated from college and they have to move somewhere for a job and they're in a brand new town. I mean, that's tough. That's really tough, particularly if you're and so find a mentor and find a couple people that you are. I think a lot of times, particularly with social media and just living behind a screen, we're not out enough. We're not touching grass, as they say, right?
Yeah.
The governor of Utah last week, I love that. He said, "Listen, get off social media and go touch grass."
Yeah. I totally agree.
I love that.
Get out on a trail, go walk in a park,
Yeah. That,
go have a cup of coffee with a friend.
Yeah. And so, yeah, particularly for kids coming right out of college, make sure that you're staying connected to some sort of community. And again, I always had a couple mentors in my life, even had a paid coach, uh, my career over the last 10, 15 years. That's
I
been very
waited till 46 to do that, and I spent exponentially more taking care of myself than if I would have done it and invested in myself in my 30s and 40s.
That's right. That's right. So those are, and that's tangible advice, right? So that, I mean, those are things that you can go out, you can find those people. Cause you're right. I mean, listen, if you don't have a couple buddies to go talk to, or you don't have a mentor, I can tell you, you can go hire somebody. You can go
Yeah.
hire a coach, that can kind of, connect those dots for you,
And we get a coach in so many things, from golf to business to whatever. It's like, why would I not also, take care of my soul?
Bingo. Bingo.
Good, good. Well, kind of wrapping this up, I want to ask you the Charlie Kirk question. What do you hope people remember you for?
Yeah. Well,
Who is Matt Pinnell about? What's he about?
yeah. I certainly hope that it was over the last 8 years in particular in my career that I was kind to people. Again, I read a whole lot, and it's amazing to me. We can learn all the life lessons, we can learn the scripture, but to be humble and kind. There's a Tim McGraw song I
Yeah,
on my Twitter feed.
yeah. That's a
It's on my
great video.
Yeah, it's
Great song.
on my Twitter handle. It's everywhere, showing some humility and kindness, and I do get that feedback. Maybe it's just because I'm in politics, and it's most of the time it's bare knuckled and not kind. But I think the world needs that. I mean, I get people that come up to me and, well, gosh, everybody likes you, Matt. You're a good person. Again, by the way, I get criticism for that sometimes because people want me more vocal or a little bit more in the mud, so to speak, on some issues. So I'm not saying that doesn't come with pushback as well.
Absolutely.
Not going to avoid it, but I hope it's that he was a positive voice for the state of Oklahoma. He talked about the good stuff. He truly was a positive sales and marketing director for the state. I hope, at least in my profession, career, that's what people would say. And then in my daily walk, I hope it's similar to that. That he's a good person, and that you can see Christ in him and in his family's life. I mean, I would love nothing more than that. That's what Charlie said as well. That that people, he was courageous, yes, but that he was a believer. I certainly hope people would say that about me as well.
Well, and I think that's the root issue behind the being humble and kind, is that
Yeah.
whether they acknowledge it or know it, they see Christ in you.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I am really grateful for our time together today. I mean, those are the things that I wanted to ask you about and hear from you, and just want to say thank you for your time this morning, just being authentic and being real, and for the champion that you are for our state. For folks that are listening to this and they want to follow more what you're doing, what's the best way to follow you or connect with you in our state?
Yeah. We're really active on social media. Facebook, if you're still on Facebook, I know that's kind of one of the older social media platforms, but we post almost every day on Facebook. Very, very active on Instagram, LT Gov Pinnell on Instagram, Twitter still, or whatever they call Twitter these days, X. Still active on X, not on TikTok or those type of things, but
MySpace.
not on MySpace. But you can follow me, pretty well on social media. Yeah, we got a website, the Lieutenant Governor website, but we'll post a few press releases from time to time there. But your traditional social media accounts is kind of the best ways to follow me, and I really push people to there, because we're taking you across the state of Oklahoma. Wherever I'm going, I'm posting about it. I'm trying to be as vocal as I possibly can on those social media channels.
Last question, really important. What's your favorite cup of coffee, and
Yeah.
where's your go-to spot?
I'm glad I was hoping you were going to ask me this question, because there's a bunch of spots. Obviously, we met at your coffee shop and still frequent it in the Tulsa area. I'm at Double Shot quite a bit, but
Nice.
I tell people this all the time, because I'm pretty cheap. I still think a dark roast coffee at Quick Trip. Yes, Quick
Yeah.
Trip. One of the best cups of coffee under $2.50, because I'm just a black coffee guy.
You're a black coffee guy. Yeah.
I put nothing in it. I want to taste what the coffee actually tastes like. So I
You're a
love,
good man.
I'm a good man, right? So I love a good craft coffee as well. I want to taste the beans. And I will tell you, the dark roasted at Quick Trip, very frothy. It's still one of the best affordable cups of coffee you can get
Yeah.
anywhere.
Along those lines, in fact, I had a conversation with the co-founder yesterday, a buddy of mine, Michael Jones with Thrive Farmers out in Atlanta. They source and roast the coffee for Chick-fil-A. And it's another underrated cup of coffee that you can go through. If you can't make it into a craft coffee shop, it's another place that you can drive through and get an amazing cup of drip coffee.
Good to know. Good to know.
So, well, Lieutenant Governor, it has been a blessing to visit today, and thanks again for all that you do for our state, just making it remarkable.
Well, I appreciate you so much, this podcast, and I know you reach a lot of people, and in your career as well. So thank you for everything you do, and thank you for loving the state of Oklahoma as well. We need more ambassadors out there. You're one of them. So thanks.
Well, man, thank you. That means a lot. And I look forward to seeing you face to face again soon, whether we're at Quit Trip or Double Shot or down at EOT down in Otto Alley. That would be a joy.
I'll come to your coffee shop next.
Okay. Well, hey, have a great day.